I mean, they're nothing.
Right. And it plugs into where? The computer?
It connects to this. It connects to here. We got another set that connects to an iPhone or whatever. And we'll mess with those at some point.
So it connects to USB here in your computer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll record our conversation now and just kind of go from there.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, works pretty well. All right. Now we just gotta try to find something to do with it in a good way. Be real cool if that was already logged into my. It's not. All right, maybe we'll do something else. All right, hey everyone. For anyone who's here, but if not, me and Charles are just gonna talk.
Yeah,
which is more fun anyway. We thought it'd be fun to do just a spur of the moment, impromptu conversation. I will go grab another computer in a couple minutes to go and see if I can follow along with any questions that you may have. We'll just talk about them in the moment. Because I'm using a computer that's not mine, doesn't have any of my passwords saved. Like this is how much I rely. How much do I rely on saved passwords? This is it. Like
impromptu.
No, impromptu means I don't know what the password is. That's exactly what that means.
Never know what to
I don't know how to do it. If you jump in, wherever you jump in, if you have a question, let us know in the comments, and I'll find a way to get to it later. And Charles will talk to you. But the end of the year, and so it's such a time for reflection and for thinking. I don't know, it's like your most reflective time and contemplative and thinking about, what went well, what didn't go well, but I think it brings to this idea of just gratefulness and gratitude and all the things that you look back on the year. So for you, when you think about maybe just any year, is there a way that you approach the end of the year? Not necessarily from a business standpoint, but when you're an entrepreneur, you can't separate the two. So
right. I think when you talk about gratitude, just being thankful, gratitude is a state of mind. Mm-hmm. And so I feel thankfulness is more of the emotion attached to it. So I get in this space now. This year's probably been because I've become really big on meditation and understanding how much gratitude plays a part in manifesting the things in my life. So I really look at it from a place of, you know what, I'm honored to be in this place, right? Yeah. I'm honored to be here. Before I look at anything I need to change, before I look at anything that didn't go well, anything that we can do better, I first start on saying, you know what, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be alive. I'm honored to be in a place where I can impact people. I'm honored to be in a place where I can work with a great team. Just looking at it, I don't know if from a business perspective, I even think about I'm honored to be able to pay people, payroll. Like I never thought.
Glad to have the money to pay them sometimes.
Right. So I never thought I would even have employees because this was never built for me to have, people. It was just, I was a solopreneur for so long that I never thought that I would grow to the place. So even on paydays, I'm like excited. Yeah. Just like watching my staff buy stuff. Excuse me. Going on trips, whatever it may be, just like, man, I'm just grateful for this. And I think when I start in that place, it gives me a better attitude towards change. Right? Okay. So anything that I need to do better next year, set goals for, it gives me a better attitude about it and keeps me in a positive mindset.
You said something that I thought was interesting, that gratitude is a state of mind or a mindset, and being thankful is the action that comes with the mindset. So as far as we sort of, because we talked briefly about what's the difference between gratitude and thankfulness, and for you maybe is that it, where gratitude is how I walk into the space, and being thankful is the fruit of gratitude.
Yeah. I agree. I took the Napoleon Hill certification class, Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
And one of the laws of success is positive mental attitude, and that's what he's basically teaching is how do you address everything from a positive mindset. But the root of having that positive mindset is living in a mindset of gratitude. So looking at always the brighter side versus looking at it from a negative perspective. If you look at every situation as an opportunity to grow and make you better and becoming the best version of yourself, then you have a different mindset going into things. And so I feel like that's the gratitude process, that you change, you're shifting your mindset to the point where nothing that happens to you is bad.
So when you say nothing that happens, because plenty bad happens though.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a naiveness.
Mm-mm. It's an awareness, right? It's to the point where you have to mentally, emotionally strengthen yourself to look at life from a different perspective. It's a muscle, right? You got to work it out. You have to look at it from, this could be bad, but it's my perception of it, right? How do I conceive it? How do I perceive it? Do I look at it as something that's trying to hurt me, or looking at something that's trying to grow me?
Okay. Yeah. How you perceive it. It's sort of. I remember having a conversation with someone who, they were just always like, Jonathan, you're just an optimist, and I'm a realist, as if like those things are different. And we're fine. We were, I forget where we were at a conference or something, and someone was defining an optimistic person simply as one who sees positive outcomes, like one who can see answers to problems. Not everything's rosy and wonderful. It's just whenever you're presented with a problem or presented with do you see a way to fix it or a way to make it right or do you immediately go into, well, we'll never make it right. Well, this is just yet another thing that now I have to deal with, and so the opposite of an optimist is not a realist. It really is a pessimist, because it's that way of looking at it. Do you feel like that was something that you always did, or do you think like it's a muscle you worked, or maybe a combination of both, right?
I think it was something I always did. I just didn't know it, right? And again, when I became more aware of it, I was like, wow. And it's funny. My daughter used to always say, "Dad, nothing can make you mad. You just always got to find the right thing to say to make it better. Like you just stay in a happy place." And I didn't realize it. I used to say, "I'm the most optimistic person I know," and I would say it, but I didn't know what it really meant, right? And so I felt like life that's just the space I was in. And I lived in that space, but once I became aware of it, then I began to work the muscle. It's like, okay, this is what I have, so now, okay, this is what I have to do. Hence why I took the Napoleon Hill class, because I felt like I had the characteristics. Well, I didn't realize I had the characteristics until I did the business expo, and I had Dr. Kimball come in.
That's right. Yeah.
And he said he said a statement to me that rocked my world. Right. Okay. He made a statement. He says, "Charles, out of all the people I've interviewed in my lifetime, you're probably in the top 10 of the most influential." And I'm like, hold on. I know the people you interview, right?
We talking about the same people?
You're like, and you talking about the same person? And then I asked him, I said, how do I see myself like you see me? Because I don't see myself that way. And that's when he told me about that particular class, and I think that really put me on the path to really understand who I was. And understand that it was already dwelling in me. I just had to learn how to work it.
Yeah. Do you feel like, did your daughter have that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
She's
Time out. What's it like seeing that in her?
Oh, emotional. Just because, one thing I can say that I never hid anything from her, even through business, right? When it was up, it was up. When it was down, it was down. every contract I had, every contract I would close, I would come in her bedroom and be like, look what daddy, look what happened. You know, God provided, we closed this contract and the needs are met. So I never hear anything, so she always saw my fight, right? She always saw that I wasn't a quitter. And so she became that. And I think that inspired her to do some of the things that she's focused on doing now and even did in the past. It was like, I can depend on him. And so, and then she saw something that was working, and then she just became, and I think even now at 24, she just turned 24, I see it more in her now, because she's just a calm person. Nothing bothers her. She looks at everything from a positive perspective, like, okay, what can I do to fix it? She doesn't complain about anything. And that's a lot like how I am. And so I see it, and it's like, wow. I guess now is more so showing her that she has it. And now giving her the tools. Right, exactly.
So she worked the muscle. How does she use it for, not use it for advantages, it makes it sound like you're like using, but you are. I mean, like, everyone has natural gifts. Like, to not use them is wasteful.
Right.
You know, and so she's got a proclivity to see solutions, to stay level-headed, to stay calm, to not get, whatever that might be.
Yeah, she literally has now, when we meet and have conversations, she's like, she goes from, Dad, let's open this business. Like, let's open this. Dad, can we do this? Let's do it. And I'm like, okay, what? What? Yeah. So she's really developing the mindset of not having fears, or being stronger than her greatest fear.
Something I always think about whenever I think about the idea of like never getting too high, never getting too low, is the difference between not getting too high and too low and living in a fog of the middle. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like, because I feel like if you're not willing to go low, you don't get to go high, And so it can be a defense mechanism to just like never get too high, never get too low. Like, just stay in the middle, stay and just, but you don't get the big emotions either. So how does that play in with what you're talking about? Because I don't think they're the same, but I do think there's a risk. I do think that there's a risk of you don't allow something that didn't go right to admit it, if that makes sense. Like, if you're always, well, it'll get better, or if you're always like, it'll be fine. Yeah, it's gonna be fine. But sitting in the fact that it's gonna be fine, but in this moment, this sucks. Does that make sense? I don't know.
I think you have to acknowledge that emotion, right? I think you have to accept it, but it's the process of getting out of it. That's one thing.
That's a great point.
I think most people.
Do you believe you'll get out of it?
Right, and I think when people, if you ever hear you say, "I'm going through something," most people don't go through something. Most people stay in something, right?
Or I'm getting over something.
Right, and if you're going through, that means you're not going to stay there forever. Right? And if you're not going to stay there forever, then you should be thinking of it from a positive perspective versus looking at, oh me, oh my, I'm stuck, I'm here. Well, the moment that your attitude stays in that negative situation, you'll stay there longer. Right? I always say your attitude towards the situation determines how long you can stay in it. Right? So it's to that place where people, that when you're going through, it's like you get in this rut, but what does the rut change? I go through things every day. I mean, I experience things not just because not because I don't talk about it. That doesn't mean I'm not going through nothing. Right? But it's how I see it, because I always give life to the answer, not the problem. And most people spend time giving life to the problem, and so because they give life to the problem, they spend more time in it.
That's interesting. So it's almost like the idea of you have two fires, right? So you have a problem fire and a solution fire, and you can give oxygen to one of the other. Right?
Absolutely.
And so if I give more oxygen, more life, if I give more oxygen to the solution fire, the problem fire dies. And the solution fire only grows. But if I give more oxygen, more of my time, more of my attention, more of my energy to the problem fire grows. And the solution fire gets harder and harder to kindle, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's called frequency.
Okay.
You know, it's understanding everything has a frequency. So wherever you spend most of your energy, wherever your energy is, that's where your attention is. Wherever your attention is, that's what you manifest. It's energy, right? And frequency. So when you understand the laws of success, then you understand that whatever you pay more attention to, that's what you're going to actually have. So if you pay more attention to the solutions than the problem, then you will be more geared towards moving towards the solution than staying in the problem.
When it comes to I don't know, spinning off this idea of solutions, how do you celebrate little things? Like, the big stuff makes sense. Like, hey, the company turned 10 years old, which is amazing. You invited people over, you gave us some food, it was wonderful. Looking forward to you doing it again, maybe at 11 years. I think every year you should have people over and give us food.
Okay. I can do that. I can do that.
That's kind of why. But those are the big things. But the little things, I mean, in a way, I would bet that showing your daughter's completed contracts was a tiny celebration. I would argue that it was as much for you as it was for her. That yes, were you showing her and bringing her in and look, like God provides, you can depend on me, kind of thing for her. I don't see how, this is like super psychiatrist Jonathan, like I don't see how that wasn't the same thing for you. Yes, you're showing her, but somewhere in your brain, it's also, hey, look, God provided for us.
Oh yeah, yeah.
My daughter can depend on me.
Yeah.
You know, just as much for your psyche as it was a lesson for her.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I celebrate every little thing, man, right? Especially, even right now, the meditation clinic is open, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're open until 7. I'm there until 7 every day. Like, man, why you don't hire somebody to do it? Jonathan,
the funnest part of your job.
It's, to be honest, I seen a 10-year-old autistic kid come in and walks out of the meditation clinic and says, I understand that I've been living by the reality of what my mind creates, and not the reality that I'm seeing in front of me.
Okay.
That's priceless.
Yep.
And it's like, you've been in this situation. I have a 16-year-old ADHD kid who now is not really suffering from ADHD. She can sit and watch a movie for 2 hours without moving. Her grades are going up. Her relationship with her parents are amazing. They hug, they emotional, they just share her feelings. That for me beats, any other thing that's happened. It's those things, those moments that for me just like, man. So it's like, I'm grateful. I'm sitting in this thing, man, and I celebrate just saying yes. Because if I didn't say yes, then they might not have had that opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? It's like getting to that place where I'm so honored that I was the vessel.
Yeah. It's back to that gratitude piece.
Right.
It feels
and so when I celebrate more of that, because every day we helping people all across the state with telemedicine that I probably will never ever meet.
Yeah.
But waking up to that every day, going to sleep to that every day is like, man, how can I not? I think I sleep with a smile on my face every day, right? And it far outweighs any other thing. And I think it's because I have that spirit of gratitude, that place where I celebrate those moments. It's opened the door for bigger moments.
Yeah.
Right? And I'll get an email, man, and be like, hey, your staff did a great job with the school-based clinic. This student is graduating from the program, and I got tears coming down my eyes.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And I guess it brings me back to the point where I never ever saw myself doing this. Like, I never saw myself in a place of where I'm being used for impact as much, Or even when I have someone that's another business owner comes in and asks me, "Hey, can we sit down and talk?" And we sit down and we figure out a way to help them get out of a business rut or that get their business to where it needs to be. And I'm like, what? And it's like just watching how the people around me and the people that we serve just their lives evolve, man.
Yeah.
It's connects for anything better.
Mm.
Yeah, connects for anything better.
So when you say that you never saw yourself getting to that point, is there something that sort of triggered the flip to where now, like, seeing yourself, or have you accepted the fact that you are someone who can do that? Or are you still a little bit of like,
No.
hey, I don't know how this is happening?
I don't.
I'm gonna get my
ever-
computer out of my backpack.
Okay.
I'm just over there.
Yeah.
But I still hear you.
Okay. I don't think it's ever flipped. Like, I don't feel like it's ever flipped. I never see. It's crazy because I talk to people and they're like, "Oh, you're Charles," and I'm like, "I'm just Charles."
I don't know if I'm Charles.
Like, I'm not. Like, people create this image of what they think I am versus what I really am, and I don't see myself how people see me. I'm like, no, I'm not that. You know, I'm just a person that's out here doing the best I can to help as many people as I can do. You know, and it's like I don't see myself at that place or even accept it. I'll be honest with you. This past few weeks, it's been hard because we had the ribbon cutting that was on the television.
Yeah, they keep putting you on TV. That's the problem.
Yeah, and then
and
the
they put you in
newspaper
the paper a whole bunch of times.
So
now people see you.
and I'm sitting there like, literally, this last article that came out in the Advocate, I felt so vulnerable because there was a lot of things that were shared that I really don't share with people,
Yeah.
right? And I went in the house and I didn't come out of the house for the whole weekend. I was like, I don't want to. It was more of like, is this really happening? Like, is this really happening? Like, is this true? Like, I'm living in this space, or I'm in this space where.
When you say, "Is this true?" What do you mean?
Like I said, I feel like I'm waking up to a dream every day.
Okay.
Like, I feel like I'm just waking up to a dream of like, man, this is crazy. Like, this is not what I thought. This is not what I imagined. Well, I guess I imagined it because I didn't imagine what happened, but it was not like what I started out with. You know, it was not like where I thought this would end up.
Yeah.
And so it's just living in that space where every day I'm living a life that's bigger than my own natural ability.
So again, it gets me to this weird thing I'm thinking about, and we talked briefly about it. That's why I asked about how do you celebrate, because I feel like we just don't. I just feel like, and some of this, and when I talk about celebrate, I mean my own weird way of celebrating tiny things of like, you know, I'm in my office and I get an email that I've been waiting for, and it's exactly what I needed to hear. Like, there is a 100% chance that I will fist bump myself. I've clapped at emails before. I've like, yes! Like, I've looked at like, cause like this thing that I needed like to drop just dropped, and it was just what and I knew it was gonna happen, and it just had to happen. And I think that's weird, but I don't want it to be weird. I want to know that other people celebrate these tiny things, because I want to try and, can we train ourselves, people, to be ready to surprise yourself? Like, I think about this in Accelerate Northside, like, and I think we're gonna start to frame it in the first week. Like, over the next 6 weeks, you're gonna do things that you didn't know you could do. You're going to talk to customers, you're going to open a business bank account, you're going to do something, like, you're going to make sales, you're going to do something, and it's going to surprise you. And we should get back to a place where we are expecting ourselves to surprise ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we're better than we think.
And that's the problem. Do we think we're better than we are, right? That's the problem. I think most people don't really live in that space because they're so busy criticizing themselves.
Yeah.
Because they create these false expectations of like, oh, I should have been further along. Oh,
that's a good point.
I should have been here. Oh, my business should be here. And they forget to be thankful for those moments and celebrate every milestone.
Yeah.
Every milestone. And I'm like you. I get an email, man. I'll be honest, I'm in tears. I'll close my door and I'll just have a moment, man. Like, oh, like, what in the world? And it's not necessarily something big. It may just be something small, but it's still the point where like I get, it brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah, because even the email makes it seem bigger than it is. Like, I mean, I'll get that way. I'll be writing, I'll be doing research for something and I'll find an article that will be useful later. Man, I'll get pumped about that. Like it's seemingly little. It's this tiny. It's seemingly this small thing, but we should celebrate. Like, and it's interesting because I feel like because I started thinking about that, and then I started thinking about, is there spaces where adults celebrate seemingly little things, not little, but and one of the things that came to mind was athletes. Like, if there's a space where people celebrate little things. Now, do they go too far sometimes? This isn't a conversation for that. But I remember listening to a podcast where this guy who played cornerback for an NFL cornerback was talking about celebrations and like that. And one of the things he said was, you don't realize that you practice all week for this one opportunity to maybe make one play. How can you not celebrate?
Right.
Like, everything that you were working on that week was leading to this one moment where you do this thing, and if it goes right, how can you not? Like, and I think about that, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, we're just talking sports, but he's right. I mean, like,
you think about it though, right? Because I heard Steve Harvey say this for the ESPY Awards one day. He says, "Why do y'all celebrate every time y'all make a first down like y'all scoring a point?" Right? And it is like, it makes sense. But then at the same time we as spectators, we celebrate with them.
We celebrate?
But we don't learn to celebrate ourselves like we celebrate everyone else around us, right? And I think it goes back to that insecurity. It goes back to those false expectations. It goes back to that judgment that we have about ourselves, that we don't feel like where we should be, right?
Yeah.
We feel like we're here, but we feel like we should be here because everybody else is here, everybody else is doing well, but we're still struggling trying to figure out stuff. And I think we criticize ourselves so much that we don't look at celebrating our successes. Yeah. And it's amazing because we will somebody put something on Facebook, we will give them hand claps, we will do all this, and it's something. And I'll be honest, I'm guilty of that too. I'll celebrate someone else on Facebook and be like, "Hey, congratulations!" But when I got something that happens for me, I don't ever post it.
I'll say nothing about it.
I don't. It is.
I got pictures of my kids. That's about it.
You know.
Like,
And it's not until now that people are telling me, "Hey, you need to put this on Facebook because people need to know." Because it can inspire somebody else, and I'm like, oh, but it just, but I think it's for me too. I get myself to the point where I have to catch myself and be like, you know what? I can do it privately all the time.
Sure.
But like publicly, I don't. And it's just, I don't want really, and I guess it's sometimes, I feel like sometimes I don't want to ever be in a place where what's happening in my life makes somebody else look at their life differently. And that's what my fear was.
Why?
Just because I felt like I come from, when you, as a male, we play sports, some females play, but you're so competitive. And I had so many competitive people around me. Like, I didn't want my life and what I was doing to make people feel bad about where they were. Okay. Because everybody's journey is different. Everybody has a world that they're called to help. Just because my world is different from theirs, that doesn't mean I'm more impactful, right? Okay. Sure. And I had to understand that. Yeah. I had to get to that place, and I think that was part of the reason why that I didn't want to celebrate when things would happen publicly, just because I didn't want people to be like, oh, I wish my life was different, or and just make it seem, because I've had people say stuff to me like, man, you got it going on, man. And I'm like, no, it's not about going on. It's about doing what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing too. It's just that my platform may be a little different, but that doesn't make mine greater. Yeah. Right? And so when I realized that, and now I can express it, I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with doing it, but it's still hard. But celebrating I think it's more of a self thing, right? Yeah. It's being able to just be looking at yourself and not being so judgmental about it.
I wonder, and sticking with, like, I don't know why I'm just on a sports tangent, but I feel like it's right. Because particularly at the highest levels, U.S. women's soccer, any of the major league sports, you have to have such a confidence to get to that point. You know, to get to be a professional tennis player where there's tens of thousands of people in the stands and you're just standing there. It's just you. Like, your coach isn't even allowed to be on the court. Like, your coach has to stay in the stands. Like, lonely in front of everyone. And so, I don't know, I wanted that, there's got to be, there's stuff involved with that, right? I mean, as far as, you know, if you have that level of confidence and that level of self-esteem, or that level of whatever, however you kind of maybe want to put it, you don't get there if you don't have that.
Okay.
And one of the ways to, I guess, continue to not build that, but you end up celebrating.
I agree. And that's what I believe builds you up to that place where you can get to that place of confidence, right? If you learn to celebrate the little things, then it will make it easier to celebrate the bigger things. Right? And I figure, like, I believe that a lot of times we can't get to the bigger things because we forget to we forget to celebrate the little things. It's almost like you remember. I'm gonna go back. I'm telling my age. Before they had Redbox, there was these video stores, Blockbusters, and all that. It's almost like you.
There's still a sign in Abbeville.
Really?
I'm almost positive it's still there.
It's
the
like
sign is still out.
You can go and rent, right? You go and rent it. You rent a movie, but if you're late, you go turn it in. They don't charge you right away. But then when you go back to rent, you have to pay your past due. Right? And if you don't pay your past due, you can't rent anything else. And it's almost like the same thing with life, right? If you don't ever give gratitude to the past due, you can't move forward to the new opportunities. You got to be grateful and celebrate the things that you've overcome before you can continue walking to the next chapter of your life.
From spinning off of like this idea of celebration and, I don't know, the emotional aspect of celebration, and at some point we talked about like posting things. If you're someone who's watching online and you have a question or something, please just throw it in there and we'll probably avoid it or talk about it. But we'll make a conscious effort to maybe look at it. But we were mentioning, Jimmy Valvano, the basketball coach, said there are three things that it's a good day if you do these three things. One is laugh, one is think, and one is to be moved to tears by your emotion. What are those things what makes you cry?
Man, a lot. I'm probably the emotional person I've ever met, man. Yesterday my staff, we celebrated birthdays and we exchanged gifts, and one of my team members gave me a plaque with some pictures of me and I, and it said, "What better love than a father's love?" And she made a blanket. It took everything in me not to cry. But I knew if I would have cried for everybody, we'd have all started crying. So I just waited until I got in my office, and I closed the door, and I'm going in a meeting. And man, I
got a phone call real quick.
Those moments, of course, anything about my daughter.
Anything,
she's my best friend, so anything about her definitely does it. But just, I think day to day, man, when the little guy, the autistic kid, came in and he shared what happened to him when he walked out of the meditation clinic, I had to walk away. It was like anything that just makes, it celebrates the work that I've put in to become more of an impact and just a vessel that can be used to help people. That makes me cry, man, because I look at it like, why me? You know, this is, God could have chosen anybody else.
The gratitude piece.
Right, he could have chosen anybody else, but he chose me, you know? What made me so, like the one, right? And living in that space. So any little thing for me, just, I have one lady that comes in, she severe PTSD, anxiety, and she's on a fixed income, and she comes in a meditation clinic 3 times a week, but she couldn't afford it. And I was like, she said, I want to do it, but I can't afford it. I'm gonna have to choose between coming here or eating. And I was like, no, you won't have to choose, because I will pay for you. And when she walks in with this joy, she always has to give me a hug. She will wait until if I'm in town, if I'm in the city, in my office, and I mean, she will wait till I get off of my call, and she'll walk out. I can't leave without giving you a hug, and man, that brings tears to my heart. Like that kind of stuff. Just, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, it doesn't take much for me.
No, listen.
Just the idea of you asking me, I almost started.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, like I'm saying, like music does it for me. Like sometimes it's lyrics, and sometimes it's just the way that the music is put together, and you know, musicals. You know, like it's just not I just get moved to emotion. It's just like all this feeling, and yeah, I'll well up talking about other people's stories. You know. It's not uncommon to start to either nearly cry in Accelerate Northside at some point. You just start getting excited, and you see this vision of maybe the world as it could be. And man, it's beautiful, and it's exciting, and we can all get on board, and if it sounds crazy, even better. You know, like if it sounds crazy, I'm just that much more excited about it.
And you know what I was thinking about when you asked that question and when you were talking? I can't tell you the last time I cried because something bad was happening.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't know.
I've
you know, and not that bad things don't happen. But
right, and things happen. I can't remember the last time I cried for a challenging situation, and not versus something that was joyful. My tears are more for joyous situations and painful situations.
Yeah.
And I think that's growth, right? And I think it's more because I don't really focus on the problem.
Yeah. I'm
always expecting a solution because I know it's gonna work out.
Yeah.
I know I didn't come this far to be left, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, man, if I can get through everything I've been through in my past, then what makes everything I'm gonna go through in my future different?
I didn't come this far to only get this far.
Right, and so I didn't realize it until you said that. It was like when you was talking, I'm like, when was the last time I cried about something that was painful? I mean, I have a best friend of mine who lost his mom. I cried for that, but even for then, it was still.
Even then, I feel like sometimes you cry because of the good times that are gone.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Which is different than sadness.
Right.
It is sadness,
Exactly.
but it's different, right? Like maybe
Exactly.
a little, maybe.
Yeah, it's
like,
true.
It feels like it's a little bit different. Like
Yeah.
what you're crying about is not necessarily the loss.
Mm-hmm.
It's the loss of the person. It's the loss of the smiles. And it's the loss of the laughter. And it's the loss of the hugs. Like it's those.
It's the good interactions that bring those tears.
Yeah, yeah. Because if those things if you didn't appreciate those things, then you wouldn't cry.
You wouldn't. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. All right. Whatever. Okay, cool. Got real deep.
Yeah.
What's the best present you've ever gotten?
The second I just took a breath.
Okay.
Every
breath you take.
Every breath I take, I think it's because I live in the now.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for every breath, every second, every millisecond. That because of that, as people say, that's why it's called the present, right? Not the past. But I literally live that. Like I literally live that. Because I always wondered, for most people, time flies. People say, how do you do so much and you got so much, and we only have the same amount of time in the day. And I think because I don't live by time, I live by moments.
Okay.
Like I literally live in a moment and don't worry about it. I rarely ever look at my clock unless I gotta be somewhere.
Yeah.
Or like if I have an appointment and an alarm, I don't know the days of the week. I don't know the actual date. I have just days of the week. So I don't live by dates at all.
Yeah.
And it just makes time go by a lot slower. It's because I'm not always looking. When you understand epigenetics, you understand that 98% of the way we live is with the things we talk about, people we talk to, places we go, things we see, things we hear. So if I minimize those things, specifically when you go into stores, it's like when you go through one holiday, they immediately take everything down, they push you into another house.
Yeah.
So now your mind
Yeah.
automatically is focused on New Year's when it's still Christmas, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but I get out of those spaces where I'm like, oh, I don't allow myself to go that far. So I live in every moment. And I think the next one, I really have to go back to my daughter. She's been the best gift I ever had, man.
Yeah.
Her name is Nia. Her name means purpose, right? And I named her that because her life gave me purpose, man.
Yeah.
It helped me realize my purpose.
Sure.
And so that would probably be the two. And then the other thing, my daughter gave me the Napoleon Hill. She paid for my first class for the Napoleon Hill certification. I think that was her investment in my future.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was like, "This really needs to pay off, Dad."
Yep. She did it because she knew I wasn't going to do it for myself.
Okay.
And it was like I was too
That's
busy giving to everybody else, and I don't really give to myself a lot. She's like, "Dad, you deserve this." And the class wasn't cheap, and she's
she's 24.
Yeah.
So this was whenever.
She was
long
22,
ago. Yeah.
and she like took her own money and did this, right? And I'm like, okay, like really,
Yeah.
So it was like, and it wasn't a thought of, oh, Dad, you don't deserve it, but just the mere fact that she did it, it was an investment in my future. But she knew she wanted me to get to a place where I needed to be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a bike was the best thing I ever got.
Really?
But it was because of the way it was done. Because
Really?
it was like I woke up, I think it was 10. I woke up and this streamer was taped. This is how you know it was a good present, because you remember every single, everything about it. This red streamer was taped to the bedpost of my bed. And it led down on the floor, it rolled along the floor, it went down the hall, it went to the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
And then in the bathtub, which was yellow, was this red bike.
Wow. That's amazing.
And we'd say it's one of the few things that is still at my parents' house now. Like that bike has been through some stuff. And it still gets, and we'll work on it. And I don't know if it's I don't know if it's because there's some sentimental reasons or whatever for my parents or something, but that is the way it was done. It was, it could have been almost anything, but the way it was presented, the way it was here's this journey you get to go on and all this stuff, and it's
it was almost like the journey that you're going on will lead you to the prize, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then another time at this giant box, and I'm like, this is gonna be awesome, because when you're little, the size of the present is more important than what the actual present is. So this big box, bigger than maybe two of these things, and I open the box and it's full of those packaging peanuts. And that's how you know someone's up to something. And it was a watch. And I had to find it. I had to dig through it. Finally, I find this watch, and I'm like, cool, it's a watch. But I'm like, this box was so big, it could have been anything. It could have been all this stuff, this grandiose thing. And it was a watch. Learned a lot about my parents that day.
Yeah. Well, they learned a lot about you.
I don't know what they did. It was one giant just mess.
That's funny.
And one more over and over again. When you look at, I don't know, as we look at, going to the new year and things like that, do you go into the new year thinking hey, I'm going to be maybe more intentional about some things than others?
Mm-hmm.
Is there it's hey, I'm going to go in thinking about this?
Yep. I think because I live with the mindset of I'm gonna make my today jealous of my yesterday.
Ooh, okay.
Right?
That's cool.
So I feel like 2024, I will make 2023 jealous of 2024.
Yeah.
I will become the best version of myself.
Okay.
Because if I can do that, if I can focus on that, then everything else will line up, right?
Yeah.
So when you understand law of attraction, you understand all that. So if I can fix that part, then I will attract everything else that I need.
Yeah.
Right? And I'll be connected to everything else I need.
Yeah.
So if I just do that, man, whether be reading more books, whether it be for me getting back in physical shape, a lot of things, whatever, eating better, like everything. If I just focus on becoming the best version of myself, then everything else has to do the same thing too.
Yeah.
Become the best version of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not, yeah, I like that because you're not necessarily focusing on tangible things. Tangible things need to be part of it as far as maybe tracking metrics or something like that. And I think that's maybe the business lesson, right? Is like if you chase profit, maybe you get it, but like you're so consumed by this thing, all these other things go by the wayside. Versus you chase culture, versus you chase making people's lives better. You chase making people's lives better as a business. You chase solving problems. You're gonna make rough. Now, maybe there's some ways to make people more efficient and all those things. And I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but kinda. I mean, if you get really good at solving the problem, you are going to be successful.
Purpose.
Now, I think that it's hard to argue that,
right.
like, you know,
I think every successful business person that ever existed is not because they were the smartest, not because they were most had all these degrees. And I think they just learned to tap into purpose. And they wasn't worried about money. They was just focused on impacting the world. They had the purpose, right? They focused on purpose, and they understood their purpose, and they walked in their purpose, and everything else was added to them, right? And so I think it was not the mindset of how much money I can make, it's how I can live the life that's fulfilling, that every day I can go to bed with a smile on my face.
yeah,
And do that, because it's not, even if you're not a business owner, entrepreneur, you can still live in that state of excelling and exceeding without having to think that you got to go start a business.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's going to have businesses. So the level of fulfillment that has nothing to do with if you're a business owner or not. It has everything to do with you fulfilling your purpose.
yeah,
So you can be at a point where you're making $100,000 a year, but you're fulfilling your purpose and you feel like you're a billionaire.
yeah,
Right? Because the level of abundance that you feel is not based on the dollar.
Yeah.
It's based on you walking out in the fulfillment, and again, going to bed with that smile on your face at the end of the day.
and then the opposite, obviously, like you could be making $100,000 and doing really well in the eyes of society, but not fulfilling a purpose, and it's just a drain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know, it's just sort of how long do you stay in that fog?
Yeah.
And so, like, I think about getting way back to what we were talking about a long time ago. You got those ups and downs. Like, I always worry about the fog. I worry about, because as an optimistic person, I could get really good at brushing aside. Yeah, and that's why I think it was good that we talked about you have to go through it.
I think
versus ignore it.
The fog, if I would consider the fog blind faith.
Okay.
Right? It's like, can you trust that where you're going is going to end up where you need to be, without having you figuring out how you're going to get there, or seeing your next step, right? Or seeing 10 steps ahead, just seeing the step in front of you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. And I think a lot of times that's where the fog happens, is because we're not necessarily to focus on 5 years from now. We need to just focus on the next step.
Yeah.
And I think the anxiety comes when we sit there and we think about, oh, what is this going to look like a year from now? What is it going to look, oh, this is going to be here.
Yeah.
But if we just do it one step at a time,
Yeah.
and just look at what we got to do next,
Yeah.
instead of this overwhelming thing. You know, I'm in the middle of expanding across the country.
Yeah.
You think, I can't sit and think about all that. I get anxiety, man.
Yeah.
I'll be like, cry. I'll be
Yeah, there'll be
wow.
different tiers.
It'll be different.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how, what, who, where, when, and I'm sitting there, I don't do that. I just sit there. Okay, what's the next step? Take that, and I have to catch myself, especially when I get out of meetings and we're talking about it and looking at how much people I'm gonna have to hire and having the finances to do everything and the resources, and I'm like, but if I'm designed, if this is meant for me, if this is where I'm supposed to be,
If I had that faith,
and where I'm going, then I have to trust and have faith that everything is going to work out.
Hmm.
Even if I don't see it now, can I become what I don't see now? Right? It's becoming that peace of mind, that having that peace and becoming that peace and becoming that now, even though I don't see it out here yet.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to be.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you don't have anxiety. You don't have those fears. You don't have.
I was seeing someone was talking about anxiety in the way that anxiety gives tomorrow power over today.
Yep. Well, I love that.
Because I can't get to tomorrow right now. Like there's nothing I can do about it. There's not nothing I can do about it. But I can't fast forward my life to get us to tomorrow or like right away. But I can do today. I can do things that impact tomorrow.
Exactly.
But if I spend all my time worrying about tomorrow, and I'm giving tomorrow power it doesn't deserve. It doesn't deserve that power because it's taking power away from right now. You know, because right now I can do things. Yeah. So it's that balance of. I think about the fog as. Oftentimes I feel like we see where we want to go, but we're so scared about what we have to do to get there. We see this great relationship with this person, but we know we have to apologize for something, and we don't want to. We see this promotion, this whatever, but it means that we have to go and fight for ourselves in a meeting, and we don't want to. And so we're so scared about going down there that we don't get to go up there.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's that the fog almost helps you rationalize that up there isn't as nice as we think it is. Like that promotion would be good, but it would come with more problems, and I would have to do more work. So it's not worth fighting for myself in a meeting. You know, that relationship with that person would be great, but you know, they probably have some other problems, and so you know, it's not really like there's no reason for me to rehash this thing. I can just go and hang out with other people, you know. And so we rationalize that up there is not as nice as it truly is.
Yeah.
Because we just don't want to go down there.
Right.
You know, and I think about the moments in my life that I chose to go down into the valley to get up to the mountain. Those are the best decisions I've ever made. The hardest, worst decisions I've ever made. Like, you know, like scariest. But it's interesting that every time I think about the big ones, when the times I chose to go down into the valley, I knew that I was going to go back up, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Like there was almost no, like it was inevitable.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get there. I have to go down there, but that's temporary. You know, it's like even the sun rises on the darkest night.
Right.
You know, there's no night that can be so dark that the sun doesn't rise.
Absolutely.
If that's the mentality of it.
The key word is mentality.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's I said something right on my door. I have it because I don't take it off. It's today.
Because I don't take it off.
I leave it on. It says today I'm stronger than my biggest fears.
Okay.
And that tells me today I will have to do something scary.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the part of looking at myself and doing the evaluation of like, what did I do? What could I do better tomorrow than I did today? And that's becoming the best version of yourself. But what I have to do tomorrow may scare me because the reason why I do it today was because there's a fear standing in my way.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So can I overcome that fear to do something better? Whether it be, for me, I hate conflict.
Yeah.
Even healthy conflict, I hate it. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. And as a CEO of the company, I gotta manage people.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. They want to be managed. I don't want to manage them because I don't want to hurt their feelings. And be like, yeah, I don't like that. And sometimes I get to a point where I'm just fed up.
And they want to be managed, but they don't have their feelings there.
Exactly. So it's like, it's that space. But then you have to get to the point where you was trusted with this vision. You were put in this position. So because you're able to do it. Right? And I think that's the part where we don't understand, and we have to come to the reality of, you were given this business idea, you were given this vision, and if you were, that means everything it takes to make this the best, you have it. You just gotta dig in.
Yeah.
You gotta have the courage. It's almost like with Joshua, be strong and courageous, right?
Yeah.
When God told Joshua, be strong and courageous when he's taking over, right? He told him 3 times because he knew that he was gonna have fears. And I think that's the same thing. And I have to tell myself, Charles, be strong and courageous.
Yeah.
Be strong and courageous.
Because I'm always with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you have to live in that space where it's gonna take strength.
Yeah.
It's gonna take courage. Because if it didn't, you would already have it.
Yeah. And how much people are attracted to, not attracted, but attracted, like they want to be a part of it. People want to be a part of it whenever you are willing to have the conversation, when you're willing to be there, when you show them that you're trying to change the world. You know, we don't talk enough about that we're here to change the world.
I think because we're afraid, because we don't think we can.
Of course we are, yeah.
And I think that's why my team is so great. They don't want to go home half the time. And they'll, people ask me, I'm like, there used to be this cartoon called Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you going to do today, Brain? I'm like, that same thing I did yesterday, Pinky. Take over the world. Yeah, and I listen to that. I still listen to that, right? Because I'm crazy enough to believe it, but I'm crazy enough to live it, right?
Yeah.
Even when I don't want to, I have to.
Yeah.
This has become so much a part of me, and that's why my team is so great. And I pray for them all the time because it takes a special person to really be connected to me. Because we'll be in meetings, man, and we'll get on a call, and they'll be like, "Yeah, we got to do this, and this," and we don't have not one staff member, not one program in place. And I'll be like, "Okay, we'll get that done." And they'll look at me like, "But we don't have nothing in place to get it done." I'm like, "Well, we're gonna make it happen."
Yeah.
I never say no.
Yeah.
It's like, who gets in a position where you're on the phone with a national or even an insurance company, CEOs, and then they ask you to do something you say you can't?
Yeah.
The reason why they have you on the phone is because they believe you can.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh no, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, they don't have a Charles never says no. And I'm like, no, but we always get it done.
Yeah.
Because it stretches everybody in that office. Everybody gets stretched.
Yeah.
And now they're seeing a side of them that they didn't know they had.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, and again, I think we talk about entrepreneurship a lot, but this is everything. This is all parts of your life. This is being a mother, being a father, being a husband, being a wife. We create these systems, these ecosystems. If you're an entrepreneur, you create it maybe through your business. If you're a parent, you create it with your children. If you're you create it with your friend group. You know, I mean, you create these little ecosystems that people want to be a part of. Yeah, and you think about the best groups of friends, they aren't necessarily, they want to be a part of it because they have a lot of fun. Fun is the byproduct. They want to be a part of this group that loves each other.
That's key.
They have fun. They go out and do stuff. They go to music. You know, but if they didn't and just stayed home and laughed and played cards, they would have just as much fun. Right. The fun was never the thing. The fun was always the people. You know, it was always the feeling. That was what attracted people to the group. You know, not necessarily. You know, sometimes they may do something fun that may get you there initially, whatever. But that's not what keeps you there, right?
The key word is love.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it brings us back to our nature, who we are inside, and what we're made of is love. And that's like, and it's getting to that place where that's the foundation of relationships, regardless of its business, but also is the foundation of your relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
It goes back to celebrating. And a lot of times, like, do you love yourself enough to celebrate?
Which again, kind of weaves back to when you think about super cocky athletes. We can't argue that there's love for themselves that's perfect, but it had to be there.
It had to.
In so many ways, it had to be there. When you're competing against the best, when you're trying to be at the best, you know, to be an Olympian, to be a whatever, like, you're trying to be the top 5% in the world in this thing. You better be confident.
Yeah.
You better love yourself.
You gotta love yourself to be disciplined enough to get to that place, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing with life. We gotta love ourselves enough to be disciplined to reach our goals.
Yeah.
And stop making excuses. Oh, we're gonna do this tomorrow. Oh, I'm gonna do this today. Oh, I'm gonna do this later. I'm gonna do this later, and they procrastinate. But all that is, are you showing yourself that you don't feel worthy of walking it now?
Yeah.
Right? It's getting to that place where you love yourself enough to be the best version of yourself, so you can make a greater impact on people.
Yeah.
And fulfill your purpose.
Yeah. I talk about love a lot. You talk about love a lot. And we tell people that we love each other a lot. That's not common. So for you, where does that come from? Like, I know that for me, it just comes from like, I can't think of any other way to do it.
It's a part of my being, man. It's just, and I think my life, a lot of people, I think a lot of people that know me know about the moment, the death experience I had, right? And so I think when that moment happened for me, it changed my perspective on life. Like, you literally can be here one day and then gone tomorrow. But if you have the opportunity to come back, it's like, would you come back with a different mindset of like, I want to love, I want to be, and it's different because you experience life from a different perspective, that the things don't really matter anymore.
Okay.
Like anything outside the external, all the external material things doesn't really matter anymore. It's just, if I can live my life to be a light to somebody else, or to show, because it may be the only guy that ever sees you, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, there's your moment to show the love of God and just be that support that somebody just might need. You might be that person, right? And you live in that space, right? You live in that space like, if I tell you I love you, that may be the word that you need to encourage you to move on. And
That's
go on
interesting,
and
the fact that when was the last time you were told you were loved?
Yeah.
Like, a big part of finishing every Accelerate Northside session, telling people that we love them, is because I don't know if last Thursday was the last time they heard them.
But you started.
And I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine doing it with. I just can't imagine.
But I think that's why the impact of that program, and people ask why you go there all the time. And again, I don't miss a cohort, and that's the reason.
Yeah.
Because of the love that I feel when I walk in there from you guys and what you give, and then you create this culture of love, and it's like, I just want to sit in it.
Yeah.
Get away from the hustle and bustle. But then also just to be a part, if I can share something with one person in that room that can empower them to, or even if they know my story and they know I went to Truman, I came from the north side of town, and and being in a place where I am now with opportunities in front of me, if me just showing up and inspires them to just be greater, and it's good, you know what I'm saying? It's because that's how much I care about people's well-being and want them to experience the best in life. It's like, if I just got to show up, or even I got to say hello, or if I got to share something that I messed up on and can help them to get there faster, it's like, but that's love.
Yeah, that's
right?
like love is just pouring. It's why they think they talk about love is something that you can pour out of yourself and pour into people. It's a pour. It fills people up. And you just, why not create environments like that? Why not, like, if you have the ability to, if you have the option to, if you are blessed enough to be in a position where you can impact a community of some kind, whatever it might be, your family, your church, your business, your physical community, why choose any other feeling?
Yeah.
Like,
it's true.
You're gonna create a culture of competition? Like, okay, like, why? You're gonna create a culture of contempt? Why? Like,
and it
takes just as much effort to create love.
And I think of it from for you specifically. I met your mom, right?
Yeah.
And your mom is that same way too, right? When I met her for the first time, I felt like I knew her forever. Yeah. And like, I gravitated to her before, and that was before I met you.
Oh yeah, listen, yeah.
And then it was like, and then you walk up to me and said, "You know who my mom is?" I was like, "No, I don't know who your mom is." And then he told me, I was like, oh my God. And immediately I was like, I love you, man. It's like it literally carried
Takes care of
over.
that.
It carried over into that. And then I remember coming in from Houston and we met at the Buc-ee's.
Yep.
And saw each other and ran across like, I love you, man. Everybody looking at us like, what? Like, it's just natural, man. I think it's just, and I think about it from watching my mom move around and just the love she gave. My mom had an in-home daycare for years, but I grew up watching her spread love to these kids. Like, you know, and the kids would sometimes they'd cry to go home because they felt it. And I grew around it, didn't understand it until I went through my personal experiences, but it was just that, man.
Yeah.
It was like, all right, this is the way to be, you know, this is.
I just think that when you give people a glimpse of how it can be, why settle for anything else?
Right.
Like, and again, this isn't like everything should be sunshine and rainbows and there's no problems in the world. Like, no, but if you can be in a space where you are loved and you are loving other people and you are watching how that plays out in their life, why choose anything else?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it just makes it inevitable. And I think that's when I think about, certainly like what we try to do with Lead Center or with classes or whatever, like it's the inevitability that I think is exciting and you chase, and like it's the inevitability that allows you to tell the CEOs of these companies that, yeah, we'll take care of that. Even though you have nothing in place. Yeah, but it can be done. You know, like we're just talking logistics at that point. Like I got people, and if I don't have people, I know how to find them. So we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. You know, we'll go after that. You know, but I think if you've created culture, or if you become a student of culture, or whatever it might be, I don't know. Like you just realize there's certain things where you're like, why live any other way?
Yeah.
Like if you can do it this way, why do it the other ways?
I don't know how to do it the other way. And
Yeah.
I think
No, I
that's
agree.
and I think it's
Or weird people.
Right. And if we would all do it, then I feel like the world would be a better place.
Yeah.
And so why not? You know, if it has to start with us, why not?
Yeah.
And pray that the love that we share and pour to others, it will encourage them to do the same thing. And if they keep doing it and it keeps spreading, then maybe we'll make a difference.
Absolutely. Because it also, I think what it attracts people, it confuses people, which is maybe my favorite. Because I love when people are like, what are you doing over there? How are you doing fill in the blank? How are you getting 50 people to show up for Accelerate Northside every time? I don't get it. Exactly. This is the only thing we do different. This teeny tiny thing, it just happens to be the most important part.
Yeah.
The most important part.
And not just to say it, but to make them feel it. You know, that's the part when they walk out of there and they feel the love, right? Because they know you could probably be doing something else with another group of people, and it's like you sit there and you give them 100%. You give them your time, your effort, your gifts, your talent, and you pour out to them seamlessly, unlimited. You take the limits off, and you just pour in. And they feel it because it comes from the right space. Yeah. It's not, I'm not doing this to help you so you can go make money or I can invest in your business and I can grow off your idea as well. It's not, I just want to help you be your best version of yourself.
Yeah.
I just want to help you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's seeing people's reactions. Sometimes it's hard because they're so used to people taking advantage of them. And then when you give it, some people don't know how to receive it.
Sure.
Because it comes from they're not used to having it from a pure place.
Yeah. It's fun. To me, again, I'm a weird person. Like that's fun that's fun. I like when people are excited about it. I like when I like when people are super hesitant about whether or not it's real.
Yeah.
I like when people are skeptical.
Yeah.
Skeptical people are the fun ones.
Yeah. You're right. And
because they fall the hardest.
Yep, exactly. And you gotta watch them and be like,
yeah.
What's the catch? And they wait for it.
Yeah. And then the shoe drops one time and it's just like, yo.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Like in the most wonderful way.
Yeah.
But still gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, 'cause I knew it was going to happen, but you didn't know it was going to happen. But eventually it was going to be there. All right. Well, I mean, anything about, I don't know, the new year or the end of the year, or any closing thoughts of, I like the idea of always making next year jealous of this year. Or sorry, whatever, the other way around.
Yeah.
This year will always be jealous of next year.
Yeah, and I think if you live in that space, man, you will, again, you will become the best version of yourself, and then you will make the greatest impact. You really would, and it's not easy.
No.
Because you're gonna have to look in the mirror a lot, you know, and a lot of times you're looking in the mirror and you're sitting and you gotta face things that you've been running from a long time, but it's necessary.
Love that.
Yeah, it's really necessary. And so if you have the courage, and you have the courage and the strength to be able to, there's no limit to what you can accomplish, and purpose will take you further than you can ever imagine.
Yeah. That courage piece is always, I feel like that has been my biggest thing of seeking over the last year or so, is finding other people who are willing to be courageous, to make courageous choices, courageous decisions, want to do courageous things, you know, whether it's at the university or, you know, whenever someone says, you know, I want this thing, this center project, whatever, you know, to be the envy of other people. Like, yeah, I want a part of that.
Yeah.
Like, because that's willing to take a swing with no promises of what's going to happen. But even if it falls on its face, it's still going to be, it's still going to be incredible. Yeah. All right. I love you.
Love you more.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thanks for being here. And
Thanks for
next time we'll invite people.
Yeah.
This has been fun.
I forgot they didn't have people.
Well, at some point it was like, well, I guess we'll just do this thing and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But it makes it more fun. All right, I'll turn that on. All right, well, hey, thank you.
Thank you,
Go
man.
from there.